Now that we've got some practice working with APIs, let's take a look at the Flickr API. We'll get some photos from a user's Flickr stream that have been tagged with a keyword and then pull a JSON feed using that Flickr API. You can get more information about the Flickr API on the Flickr app garden at this URL. In order to call a proper feed, we're going to need to find out the user's ID. Now, normally when you open up a user account, your URL will look like this, and the thing after the last slash is your user ID. Sometimes people have shortcuts for their user ID. So for example, if you go to Planet of the Web here, it'll take you to the same stream. So when you look at a URL, you might not be able to find out what that user ID is. If you want to convert a username to a user ID, you can use this URL and type in the person's username. The user ID will be right here. Once you have that, you can make a call to the API. I'm going to go to the bottom of my code here and add another script tag. The source is going to be the Flickr API and then our user ID. And we're going to specify the format to be JSON. And if we want to, we can add a tag so that we only get photos that have been tagged with this keyword. Unlike other APIs, we don't need to specify a callback. Flickr is going to assume that our function is going to have a name of JSON Flickr feed. So we need to create that. Let's go ahead and go to our JavaScript file. And at the very bottom of this, I'll create this function. It's going to receive some data. And for right now, we'll just output the data to the console. Save it. So let's take a look at our data. I'm refreshing the page. Then I'm going to right click and select inspect element. I'll make this window a lot bigger. And I'm going to switch to the console. It looks like we have two objects here. So I must have another call to console log data somewhere else. I'm going to do a search for it. And there it is right under list video. So let's take out this tag so we don't get confused. So back to the bottom, save it, refresh. And there's the object. Just ignore these warnings. They appear every now and then. If we open up the object, you can see that the Flickr object has every photo in an array called items. Inside that array, we have different objects. And in those objects, we have stuff like the title, which is right there. And if we want to get to the image URL, we can look at this media object. And the media object has an item called M. And we can see that there is a link right here to a photo. So if we grab this right here, I'm going to copy that and I'll switch over to a browser, open up a new tab. And if I go to that page, you can see that it's a version of the image on the page. You can get to different versions of this image by putting in different letters right here. We're going to do that later on to get smaller versions as well as bigger versions. In order to do that, we're going to need to get just the ID of this image, which will be this part right here. We'll be doing that in another movie though, so let's keep on going. Next, I want to type in the page that I'm going to put these photos in, as well as the page that's going to display the large version of the photo. So I'm going to go over here and find the place where I'm loading the photos. Here's the photos from Flickr area. And I'm going to start creating some code here. So div data role is going to be content. And my theme is going to be A. And I'll close this out. Go ahead and put in a comment here. And in here, we're going to create a div with a class of UI grid C. So that's going to be a grid, and we're going to give that grid the ID of photo list. And we'll put in a comment here. So that does it for displaying our list. Now we're going to have to create a page for displaying the big version of the photo. We'll do that right after the tweets page. So here I'll do a div, data role is going to be equal to page, and ID will be show photo. Inside the page, we're going to have a header. So now that we've imported the JSON feed from the Flickr API, and we have a couple of pages ready for our content to be fed in, we'll create the function that displays the list as well as the photo display page in the next movie.